Greetings, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kai.
And we're the Genshin guys. Welcome all. This podcast is for fans of Genshin Impact, the mobile game made by Hoyoverse, also known as miHoYo. Here we talk about our opinions, experiences, and dreams about Genshin Impact. If you like our show, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the podcast. Kahi, before we get started, how are you doing today?
Sort of overwhelmed by all the content. There's like Destiny 2 expansion launched, the new patch in Genshin launched. I have like an entire 10 shows in my backlog, not just anime now. So yeah, a lot to do, but gladly I have 2 days off in a row, so I might get to all of that. But anyways, how's your day? How's your week? How's everything going?
So kind of like same for me. I've been playing Genshin a lot. I've been managing my 2 accounts, thinking about my EU account way there in the background. But I also working on the battle pass for Overwatch and the One Punch Man event, and then the battle pass. The new season of Fortnite just came out, which is super cool. It's Japan themed and very futuristic, and Eren Yeager and Attack on Titan is the collab so far. So
oh wait, speaking of Overwatch, didn't they add what was her name? Tornado?
Yeah. So
Didn't
the
they
One
add,
Punch Man skins are Genos for Genji the ninja, Saitama for Doomfist the punching guy, and then for Kiriko they added Terrible Tornado, Tatsumaki, and they added Moomin Rider for Soldier 76. Yeah, Moomin Rider.
Yes, Moomin Rider.
Yeah. So anyway, Justice Crash. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now at the same time, and I'm just trying to manage my time with those. But yeah, I mean, Genshin is still there. It's on the list. There's a lot of things I still need to do on it. It's really fun. I've been practicing voice acting as well. It's my current hopefully will be a job kind of thing. So we'll see. I actually applied for a Genshin fan dub thing to be Dainslev. So we'll see how that goes.
Ooh. In English or
in English? In
Japanese.
All my auditions are in English for now.
I can't get over how deep Dainsley's voice is in Japanese.
I love it.
It's super deep.
His voice is a very famous
It's good,
voice actor.
but wow.
Yeah, his English voice actor is pretty famous too. It's Yuri Lowenthal.
Yuri Lowenthal is great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, enough about random other stuff, but pretty great week so far, and we're excited to get into today's topics. We're gonna be talking about Windblume and Caribert today. Caribert. We're gonna be talking about Caribert. Caribert. Sorry. Yeah, Caribert. And so we'll be talking about Cariberts and Windblooms today. So I'll get started with all of our topics. So we're gonna be talking about our weeks in Genshin news, our Windblume event, and Caribert, the current Archon Quest. I believe it's not even an interlude quest. I think it's just part of the Archon Quest. And the community discussion question. And then, of course, we will end with our last wish. So first let's talk about our weeks in Genshin. Kahi, how was your week in Genshin?
So I've been testing out. I think my Dia is pretty much kind of maxed out already. She's her basic attacks are level 8, her skill is level 9, and her burst is level 10. I'm trying to get her skill to level 10, and then that's pretty much good. I kind of tested a team with Dia. I had 2 teams that I formed. One is with Dia, Raiden Shogun. I think I put Kazuha into there, as well as Jean. And I realized, wait a second, the animal resonance gives you speed, an actual movement speed boost as well, not just a shortened cooldown.
Right.
So I kind of messed around and put Dia and Rosaria on the same team with Kazuha and Jean. So I basically have a permanent 25% speed boost without even sprinting. So I'm moving as fast as Mona does on her alt sprint without actually doing that weird animation, because Rosaria has the passive where you move faster at night, and then you have Dia who has the passive you move faster at day. So I'm always fast. And then you have the 2 Animo. So it's actually been turning out pretty great. I kind of like my original team with Raiden Shogun and Yaimiko. just because I get the overloads all over the place. The second team I was playing around with and messing around with, because, you know, Animal is being more involved, I thought, you know what? I haven't actually built Faruzan, and I know I have some really good characters, like, you know, Sucrose because of Windblume, and then I have my Wanderer, and I finally formed like a all animal team.
Right.
And it actually is really good, even though like Faruzan can't survive because she gets like one shot.
Mm-hmm.
She's only like level 30.
Oh, jeez. What the?
What about you? How's your week in Genshin?
Yeah, my week in Genshin's been pretty good. So I actually got the on my Asia account also, which is awesome because I
Nice.
had her on my America account, but now that I got her on my Asia account, I leveled her all the way up until I can actually try out some different teams. So I tried her out in Abyss. Very difficult, but super fun.
Always.
I'm using Akomaru, like the cloud looking sword. On her, it's like pretty decent.
Oh, I like that sword. I really like how that sword looks.
Yeah, I don't have her weapon yet, but I'm trying to get it before she goes away. But if I don't, it's not the end of the world. Like I have it on my US account. So but yeah, just having fun, trying to figure out what I want to farm next, and just doing co-op with people, and it was pretty fun. Also, the music in the Windblume Festival, super fun, super fun. So yeah. So that's pretty much our weeks in Genshin, so let's move on to Genshin news. Okay, so in Genshin news, we have 2 birthdays. One, I believe, was like on the day that we recorded our last podcast episode, so it was actually Yao Yao, whose birthday was on March 5th. And then we have Shenhe, whose birthday was on March 9th, which is awesome.
Hey.
Shenhe is one of my favorite characters right after Dea and Yoimiya, so I'm really happy to see like birthday art and like people talking about Shenhe, and she's coming up again soon on the banners, right? She's coming up with Ayaka next, so for those of you that do not have her, I really hope you get her. Hey, you know, I hope Shenhe wanters become Shenhe havers, you know what I'm saying? So good luck.
Hey.
And let's see. Other news is Genshin Invocation TCG Heated Battle Mode. The profound purpose of practice should be live as of right now as well. And it's like an extra, quicker, less involved mode of TCG. It's like more interesting. You can just play the cards down without worrying about elements as much. And then the event that is starting soon is the Vibro Crystal Verification event, which I think is a combat event that uses like different effects on crystals. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's
those.
coming up. Yeah, I enjoy the combat events because they let me test new characters in different ways, or like play characters in a way that isn't usually a thing. Like one of my favorite things in these combat events is like when I can boost my jumping height, and then I'll be someone like
I was just
Ito.
gonna say that.
Yeah, I'll be like Ito and just slam the ground, and like it's really fun.
Claymores especially.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
I hope they
dear.
add that one day, just like increase the jump, not just increase the jump height, but allow like a jump and a attack, and allow just people to do that. It adds so much variety to combat.
Hey, maybe there'll be a character that buffs people like that, and who knows, you know? So
Increase jump height for every animal character.
it doesn't even have to be animal, it could just be anybody, right? Like
Well, true. Like just jump height in general.
yeah, well, so we'll see what happens, but it is one of those fun things. So not much news other than that, really, as far as I know. So if there's anything that we missed, let us know. Message us in the Discord, etc., etc. That which reminds me, if you have not already joined, before we start talking about the story, if you want to talk story with us, if you want to talk builds, talk Abyss, talk events, hang out, do co-op, join our Discord. The link is in the description for the episode. We have people joining every day. We have so many people that are excited and willing to help newer players, as well as give advice to players that are trying to do the Abyss, for example. We have, you know, shout out to our resident meta slave, Sarah. He was always guiding people with like their builds and their character team crafting, theory crafting, all this stuff. Super cool. And yeah, we have just a really wholesome, really great community. So if you haven't already, if you have a Discord, feel free to come join us. Okay, so first topic of the day is Windblume's Breath, our current Windblume event, which happens every year. This is the second time, I believe, that we have a music game as one of the events that you can play. which is super cool, super fun. You can make your own music maps if you have already seen them. They're kind of crazy. The people that are music game professionals doing stuff for this game, that's just super fun and interesting to look at. So hopefully you've done it already by the time you're listening to this podcast. If not, we are going to be talking about the story and some of the gameplay, but I want to just make sure and clarify real quick. We're going to do 3 things in regards to Windblume and with the next story quest as well. We're going to do a quick story summary of what happened in the story of this event. Then we're going to talk about our thoughts and reactions, and then we're going to talk about theories. So if you don't want to hear theories, feel free to skip that part, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So the first thing is this event has a balloon chasing event thing called Floral Pursuit. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of like Pac-Man, as far as I can tell.
Pac-Man in like third person.
Yeah, third person Pac-Man.
It was pretty fun actually. I didn't think I would like it, but hey, it was pretty good.
It was like easier than I thought, but it was also like, I don't know. I was trying to like trap
one of the balloons in like those moving shelves, like the bookshelves.
Funny.
I was trying to make it follow me and then like corner it. Maybe it would like give me achievement, but no, you can't actually like encapsulate one.
Oh man.
Because otherwise you just trap yourself. So I think they just didn't allow you to do that. It'll be funny though.
So we had that fun little game, Floral Pursuit, and then we have Ballads of Breeze, which is the music game, which is a rhythm game. So if you're familiar with those, Guitar Hero-esque kind of games, I guess Dance Dance Revolution-esque, it's really great to like be able to listen to the music in game while doing this music game.
Kale's one was fun. Yeah. Kale's like music was really
I like
really
Tanari's. I think was a really good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like all because it's first time it's a Mondstadt festival, but last year we had the Inazuma and Liyue music, but this time we got Sumeru music, so it's pretty cool.
I think the last like music playing event was it was in Inazuma on like the one little island next to that.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Arataki, the Great Drum Festival.
Yeah. One thing about this particular one, they had you didn't have to like do the previous modes. Wait, no, because there's like the beginner, intermediate, then the pro difficulty. I think maybe some other ones you had to do like the first 2 difficulties, then unlock pro. This one you could just go straight to pro and it gave you like all the achievements for the previous.
Thank goodness.
So just to save time, I just started on like pro, and it's actually pretty tough.
Oh, really?
Like, if you get 80% or more, if you get 80% or more, you still pass. You still get everything.
Do you have a lot of experience with rhythm games?
It was pretty tricky. Me, not really.
Oh, okay.
I was always on a touchscreen, but I was on a keyboard.
I see.
So maybe it's just like translating to like keyboard stuff, because I kept losing my place because there's only like 3 per side. Like 3 buttons on the left, 3 buttons on the right. But like I had to adjust it where instead of it like going like a spread, it just goes straight up and down. Because I'm missing like my visuals is like it's misaligning. Like, oh, that button is going to like the right side of my finger. Oh, but it's actually on the left side.
I see.
So I just had to change that. But I did it on pro on like every single one of them, and I missed a lot, but apparently I just got it on the first try.
Hey, why not?
It's pretty tough. I like it.
Fortunately, I have a lot of music game experience, so in this case, like I was doing it on stream. I did this whole event on stream actually, on Twitch, and I just like first try did like 99% on like all of them, and everyone was like, whoa, like you.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was playing on controller. I've played music games like on controller, on touchscreen, and on computer, so. If you're a music game person, like a rhythm game person, you have a lot of experience. It's definitely, it's fun. It's not too difficult. It's not it's not like too easy, but like at the pro level, it's like a really nice, chill, listen to Genshin music while playing a rhythm game level. And of course, if you want to play the easier difficulties as well, obviously, go for it. They're fun to play, and the music is great. So why not?
Yeah, and try to like calibrate the timing. It makes it a lot easier. Some people don't do that. Some people think, oh, it's just I have to adjust my playstyle to this, and no, it lets you like set a delay. Like, hey, when you see this and you press here, is that how you want the timing to be? It changes the game a lot. I know some people don't like adjusting all their settings. Some people just go in with default like keybinds and everything. But honestly, just changing a one button, or there's even like this delay, it makes it a lot easier.
It's a good point. If you're listening to this and the event is still going on and you're having trouble hitting notes, make sure to check your settings and make sure that everything is calibrated properly, because the rhythm game timing, with the way that some TVs display stuff, can actually slow down the timing and you can miss it even though you're actually hitting it when you think you should be hitting it. So just go ahead and check the settings if you haven't done that already. So that's the Ballads of Breeze event. And then we have the Breezy Snapshots event, which is another great photography event that shows us we need a tripod feature in this game. And
yes, please.
It's really fun. So if you enjoy taking photos, which I know most of us do. By the way, we have a photo channel in the Discord if you want to share your in-game snapshots. It's great. I mean, this event is a perfect time to test out that feature as much as possible, and hopefully they'll just give it to us one day.
I spent 6 hours taking pictures.
Yeah, that sounds like you, Kahi.
Yeah,
but
totally sounds like
if
me,
they gave us this feature, I would spend way more time in like random places taking pictures.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
There's even like people like online. Like there's like people who are finding ways to make it look like their characters are like reaching out behind the camera, looking like they're taking selfies in a group.
Oh yeah, I noticed
with
that.
Like Dia and Yoimiya. Oh, it was so cute.
I saw one with Yai and Scaramouche and A, and they're just like it's really funny. Like happy family, and like Scaramouche is like mid elemental skill, so he's like really blurry, and like Raiden's super far away. Like everybody's like all over the place. It was good.
Shouldn't Nahida be in that one?
Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe.
Yeah, Nahida should be on. I put her on a team like with Wonder, and it actually works pretty well. But like aesthetically, it didn't look right, so I just put him on the animal team.
Right. Aesthetically, of course. And so those are the things you can do during the Windblume event. And now let's talk about the story. So let's do a quick story summary. Yeah, Kahi, do you want to summarize the story, or do you want to do Caribert story? I can do Caribert.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about Windblume is that they split up into 3 parts, but the major plot to this one is when all the people arrive to Mondstadt, everyone's kind of settling in, everyone's kind of introducing themselves. You have Kali and Sucrose, which is like the best buddies in the world.
Test friends forever.
They actually match. Best friends forever.
No, test friends forever. That's like one of Sino's jokes.
Test friends. Oh my god!
Like,
he actually made that joke?
Yeah. Test friends forever.
Test subjects. Oh my god.
It's so good.
I don't know if that's kind of good or kind of bad.
Dude,
but,
I watched like videos of just Sino's jokes.
Too soon?
So they're so funny. Like they're just so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so everyone, arrives. No, you're good. Everyone arrives, everyone's introducing themselves, and very early on, Kale finds a book with what she believes is a prophecy of some sort. So the prophecy, there's 4 parts. The first part of the prophecy is a flower that is not of this world. Second part is a guide who will never get lost. The third part is one who would never lie. And the last part is a legend that never ends. So after they read this out, because it's on everyone's mind now, everyone's trying to figure out, oh, what could this mean? Where does this lead? Or is it talking about something specific? The animal... Oh, it was always Venti. Yeah, so Venti originally knew what this was talking about, but didn't want to give it up. So Venti actually tells you, the traveler, kind of like the last hint to get to the actual like revelation of it, but wants you to kind of keep it a secret. So everyone's still kind of like looking around. Everyone's still forming teams. You actually find everyone and you tell them, hey, so we're gonna have you on this group investigate this one part, and you go and investigate this other part. They go their separate ways, they do whatever they need to, and then they actually kind of send you letters into this little box by the alchemy table. And you can actually read each one of the letters, and it fits every one of their personalities perfectly, especially Razor's. Razor's is like 2 sentences, and everyone else is like writing pages. So they all do their research, and they kind of give their theories, and then after all of that, they kind of settle on, okay, so this part has to mean this part has to mean that, so let's all go kind of like finding where this leads to. So that's where you kind of jump in and say, hey, I think I deciphered like the last part, and it's about this one lantern that we have to find and lead the way. So you go to the cliffside, and you eventually find this floating island where there's an empty table with what looks like a tea set and like a bunch of like empty cups. So it looks like a tea party was hosted here some time ago. And the lantern lights up when the four people kind of take their seats and they kind of say their answers, what they think each of the little riddles is, what the answer to the riddle is. And then a voice appears, and it turns out to be Alice. Alice, for some reason, is starting to talk to each people when she realizes who is in the area. She starts talking in different voices, which is actually pretty interesting, because it wasn't until she started talking with a certain voice that it turns out to be like Mona's teacher. Mm-hmm. So apparently Alice has been interacting with multiple people, but kind of like posing as other types of people, or other people. So we learned about her group, which is called the Hexen Circle. Now, we actually did an episode on this way back, where we talked about like the Hexen Circle, like who they could be. I think this was around the time of Senora. Josh, remember that?
Yep.
Because I remember talking about this like a long time ago. But this one, they actually just brought them to the forefront. But they didn't reveal all their names. But what's interesting is that they reveal that they go by code names. So Alice is known as just A, which is just the letter A. We have other characters like J and N and M. Some of the names are revealed, like N for Nicole, and there's another one.
Oh yeah, right. So for that,
I think two.
For that one, we have A for Alice, B for Barbeloth, which is Mona's teacher. We have R for Rhine-daughter. We have N for Nicole, J for Ivanova, which is Scarlet's is the successor of J, like the writer who like lived, or like she got married and everything. And then M for Andrew's daughter. And there's still two more. There's supposed to be 8, right? Because of the little cutscene,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Interesting little fact about. So we know that there's 8. However, at that particular table, there's only 7 seats.
Right.
So something specific happens to one of them, and we don't know exactly what. But there's 8 people, but 7 seats. So throughout this thing, one of the other like subplots of this is Sucrose and Kale kind of having their conversations back and forth, because both of them are very timid. They're kind of shy. They don't really like start conversations the way they want to or they intend to, because Kale has a hard time actually getting into the conversation. Sucrose has a problem of talking about something other than her own like obsessions and interests. So they're like 2 peas in a pod. They're great. I am really glad they had the time to like wean themselves off, for Kale to wean herself off of just like this Amber obsession. I honestly thought she was like obsessive over Amber, but she just was very, very caring. She was very endearing, very like, she cares about like the person that was the most friendly to her when she came to Mondstadt.
Yeah, because
so I'm actually glad they didn't.
Kale accidentally killed 2 people by burning them alive and injured 15 more when she came to Mondstadt.
That
according
is,
to the manga.
That's yikes. So yeah, there's a lot of Kale revelations. There's a lot of flushing out of the Sumeru Academia as well, because when Tainari and Saino and Albedo were in the library, and they were talking about this the structure of like the academia, just how they how they have lessons, I guess, and just how they have interpersonal relationships. And this is a minor, it might be a minor fact, but might be big, because it appears that a lot of scholars apparently form families to assist with their own like research projects, as well as to like further like any kind of like other experiments and research later. Because if everyone's like just so like deep in their own like research and everything, then naturally if you find someone that has the same interests, it's like yeah, you spend more time with them, and then they find out they help you out, and then you help them. It's a symbiotic relationship already. It goes from professional to personal very quickly. So yeah, there's like academic families. Could suggest like relationships between other characters or maybe existing characters. But not so much. It's just interesting to like flush out like Sumeru, even though you're here in Mondstadt. But yeah, throughout this, there's two main things. It's Kale and the characters, you know, finding like their finding their comfort level, fleshing out their little bits of backstory and just personal details. And then you have more of like the world building story, which is the Hexen Circle and the witches, as well as like what they've been doing in the past. So there's a couple little details that I kind of like took screenshots of, not all of them, but just a couple interesting things to bring up. So Alice, when the lantern lights up and she starts talking, so she says, well, it's been many years since this lantern last lit up. Now that could either mean she has also talked through this lantern to other people, or the lantern lights up when her group was there. So she says, you can't blame me for thinking that one of the old friends from my youth have decided to catch up again. So she's still keeping in touch with all the other witches, but apparently they don't gather as often. So it's not like this one, they're not like an anti-harbinger or like some other type of group that's trying to like mess around with like things in the world. They're genuine researchers, so they all have like their points of interest. So they play like a little animation video that talks about, so Alice is narrating her own video again, and she's like, well, have you ever heard of the Hexen Circle? And she starts talking about like how they've had like a hand in just finding their way through the world, but they also have like different voices. It's assumed that it's these witches' voices talking about what they've gone through. Mm-hmm. They all share a common theme though. They have stories. Mm-hmm. Now, keep this in mind. We know for a fact that stories and like fairy tales can actually circumvent the Irminsul like memory reset, because Nahida actually made a story, and then that's how she remembered like what's going on with the Wanderer. So these witches all make their own stories too. They're storytellers. They either personal stories or they write stories about some other like fictional things, like the Princess and the Boar. And we have another one about like there's a Princess and the Boar, and then there's another story that they were talking about. It was, the author was M. Mm-hmm. Wait, who did you say? M? Do we have a name for M, or is it just M?
Yeah, M is Anders' daughter.
Whose daughter again?
And Anders' daughter.
That's the name.
That's the name, like Rhine daughter.
Dottir.
Like Dottir. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So she's the author of the Boar Princess.
Yeah, the Boar Princess.
Right.
This is a book that we found like in like year 1, patch 1. Like you go to like Lisa's library, all the books you can pick up, all those like fairy tales. So they've been there for a while. So Hexen Circle has definitely been part of the world building lore for a very, very long time, but now apparently it's a better time to bring them into the limelight, because as we go into Fontaine, as we go into like Snezhnaya, knowing that they exist will help, you know, kind of like let us know what's going on in the background as well. Because one of them, Alice says specifically, let's see, some of you may be fortunate to have already heard her voice, Nicole. Like a prophetess, she will only speak to guide people toward the truth when a change has occurred in the world. She has a tendency to suddenly speak in someone's mind without any warning. Only two people have done this so far. It was Nahida back in like the Golden Apple Archipelago, the last one with Klee.
Yep.
It was toward the very end, as well as after the events of Sumeru. So it definitely was not Nahida talking to us. Definitely wasn't from anyone else from like another nation or some villain. But as a friend of Alice, so it was most likely, not really confirmed, but heavily suggested that Nicole was talking to you through, telepathy.
Well, you know, after she says that, literally the next thing is Traveler goes, "Oh, so that's probably who was talking to me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we come up with a conclusion, but the game does not specifically say yes, that was.
Oh,
Nicole.
yeah.
But she has the tendency to, so we can all but assume. It's like 99% certainty. And yeah, she also says, if one day you would be unfortunate enough to run into a truly dangerous situation, she may use her voice to guide the way forward for you. So again, we're going to expect to see or hear more of that. One thing to kind of like solidify this whole prophecy thing, the 4 parts, was actually just a way of like bringing people, or it was almost like a secret passcode. Like if you figure this out, you come back to like this tea set, this tea party table. It wasn't actually something you were supposed to solve, which is kind of a bummer. I thought there was an actual answer to this, because I actually had a very plausible answer, and I thought all four like riddles were talking about the same thing. They're all describing one thing, but they're all describing different things. Before I continue, Josh, was there a part of this, like, even though this was like, it seemed like a side story but still ties into like the whole world story, was there a part of this that was kind of like a big revelation for you? Because there's one part of this that was a revelation for me, but like, what's something that you thought was like a really big story reveal?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like one detail that you thought, oh, that's interesting.
I guess that like we did an episode on Alice before, and we kind of learned about the Hexen Circle a little bit, but now that we actually know more about them, it is interesting to hear that they were directly in like contact slash they're kind of directly in they're kind of directly in communication with Venti, because they let Venti have that space, and Venti knew exactly what was happening when they were talking about this. So that was interesting to me.
That was one of the reveals I was interested in, because they actually used to fight Venti. It wasn't like really drawn out or focused on, but they actually were in conflict with Venti, and Venti was the one that says, "Oh, let's not fight. Let's solve our problems with love and
with
peace
song.
And like music and like and song and everything." I'm like, okay, wow. They didn't even talk about how they fought, but apparently
they just said at one
these
point.
8, early on too. Like at one point, all 8 were like fighting Venti. So I don't know how powerful they are. I don't think they are that powerful. If Venti could fight all 8 of them at once and still like fend them off with a smile and say, "Hey, let's just make some music," they don't sound like they were a threat to him. But it's interesting that you have people who were known to go up and fight in Archon, because I don't think you've ever had a case where people rose up against Zhongli. You never had, or Morax. You didn't have people rise up against Raiden Shogun. I mean, no one fought Rukkhadevata or Nahida, but apparently some people had the gall to fight Venti for whatever reason. I don't think they even said what the reason was.
No, they didn't.
But no. So yeah, that's one of the things I thought was a really interesting reveal. Other than the fact that, hey, Hexen Circle, it's a thing, it's real, and there's people, and we're very important. All of what happened in Windblume was focused heavily around the riddles, but the solution to the riddles was just getting to this tea place, finding out about Alice and her group, and how they work and operate, and how they think. It sounds like they have people from all different types of nations too, which is interesting. I have a feeling one of them is Kyanrian, but we'll talk about the theory later on. But other than that, did I miss anything? That seems to be a pretty good summary.
I mean, that was like
overview.
A pretty in-depth overview. And I guess some extra things were like that if you like go around the world, there's like a lot of characters in places that you can find after the event.
Ah, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and I don't want
Did you
to go
find
too.
any?
Yeah, I don't want to go too in depth with this, but like I looked up a video that has like all of them, and because there's a lot. Like even if you go all the way to Sumeru, like you can talk to Dia and Candace, and they're talking about how Sino left them in charge, of his job while he's
Mm-hmm.
gone,
Yep.
and you know, we find out that like Sino and Lisa studied under the same professor, under the same darshan in the academia. And Sino's past, we learn a little bit about, like, Lisa was talking to him about how the dead god Hermanubis was like used to in an experiment on Sino, even though Sino was just like picked up from the desert, but his professor didn't follow the orders of the like quote unquote higher ups in the academia, who originally wanted to use him for their purposes, but he didn't let them, and he educated Sino and like taught him how to like live in society. So, but we still don't know a lot about Sino's past, but we got like a huge reveal there when he was talking to Lisa. I think they're talking in the library. I don't remember. But they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sino, wasn't Sino like when he left the academia? Wasn't he also like in another group of people, like other like peacekeepers or like other? I feel like he talked about he had another
Yeah,
group of
the
people that he worked
silent
with, not just academia.
temple, or the silent something.
Silent. Yeah, I think it
Like,
was something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so there was like, we don't know a lot about his past, but we just know like little bits. And we just learned a lot more. So and there's like Mika and Sino talking at some point in what's it called, Storm Terror's lair, where like Sino's like trying to look at it and he's like waiting for Storm Terror to like take a picture or something, and Mika's like
Oh yeah.
yeah. So there's like a bunch of stuff.
That's one of the reasons he came to Mondstadt.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
He wanted to see the dragon.
So there's like a lot of really fun interactions between characters that we don't get to see too much, especially because they're like Sumeru and Mondstadt, so they're so separate. But yeah, there's just a lot of really cool tidbits, story tidbits that we learn in this event. So you can check out like some videos online, like in YouTube, like Cat with Blue Hat, or just other people that have posted like all the interactions and all of the characters like standing around their locations. And check it out yourself if you have some time before the event ends. But yeah,
about one more week.
Yep. So still another 6 days or so. So, Kahi, you want to talk about theory?
So some theories.
Okay, wait. Before we proceed,
course, mostly around the Hexen Circle.
Yeah, before we proceed though, if you don't want to hear theories, feel free to skip this part. I will put a timestamp in the description for when to skip to the Caribert story summary. Okay, so go.
Caribert.
Caribert.
Right. Okay. One of the witches might be Kyanrian, and the only reason why I theorize this is because one of the witches' stories was talking about, oh, I had to put an end to my beloved because she outlived him and he was like old and frail. So apparently, if she's living for a very, very long time, the only other people that we know that can do that are either races we don't know the origins of, or
like Alice.
Kynrians. Like Alice, yes. So some of them are mortal, but apparently some of them are not. So that's what leads me to suggest that there's people from all over the world. We might see some from...
I mean, we don't know anything about Natlan.
Someone from Mondstadt.
We don't even know anything about Natlan, Fontaine, or Snezhnaya,
exactly.
Right? Like, what kind of people are there?
And Jay's successor, Scarlet, looks like she is from either Snezhnaya or maybe Fontaine. I'm thinking Snezhnaya just because of the clothes.
You're right.
She's not a bad person. She looked suspicious at first, but she's just, trying to find the same place we were because she's one of the Hexen Circle's successors. One of the other ones sounded old, kind of like elderly, and was like kind of like interested in like some really like, she was interested in the other stories, but the whole point about like each of them having stories, each of them having a hand in like creating storybooks, especially M, leads me to believe that a lot of the storybooks we've come across in the world could either be prophecies or more of that encrypted knowledge, right? Just because like that's how Nahida figured out how to like preserve a memory while like circumventing the memory wipe.
Right.
So the Hexen Circle may know of this ability or may know of this system. So one of them could either be from Sumeru or from the academia as well. I don't want to speculate too much, but if they knew this early on that they could preserve forbidden knowledge in the form of stories, that's how they could actually keep a record of things that happened in the past, and like keep it like, you know, safe, even though they knew that Irminsul or some other tree, some other system could actually wipe out memory. So that's probably why like they have to have like a secret group instead of like, you know, like being like having any kind of official capacity, and they're kind of like hiding from view. So yeah, it's just my theory. Like I know there has to be someone who can live a very long time. There also is a reason why they all like telling stories, and there's gotta be some reason why they were in conflict with Venti at some point, but then had a resolution to say, let's not fight amongst ourselves. Which is weird because there's supposedly 8 people, but only 7 seats. So that's probably someone either betrayed them or is causing some trouble that they don't want to. Forced out.
And there's a theory that it has to do with Senora, but I don't know.
I want to believe Senora was part of this, but something tells me she wasn't, because I know Senora like is a little older than she looked, because she had that accident way long time ago, and she was found by the jester Piero.
I mean, she fought in the she fought monsters of the Cataclysm.
Oh, so it was a couple hundred years ago. Okay. Oh yeah, that's who she was fighting against. That's why she
fought those monsters after. So her love died in the war, and then she basically surrendered her body to like flame magic, and she used that magic to save people, to kill the monsters and stuff. But because her magic was so scary to the people, they called her a witch, and they actually outcasted her even though she was saving them. So that's why she hates being called a witch, which is why I don't think she's actually part of the Hexen Circle. But I mean, maybe she tried to be, because they were like a secret organization, and then she like went crazy and then went to the like Snezhnaya and all this stuff. But I don't know, like
she could have been at one point, because remember, even like normal people can still be a part of this group. They don't have to have like special kind of
I was thinking about that too. Like, how did she even know about the magic to do that if she wasn't already like sort of a mage, right? So that's kind of what I was thinking about too.
She may have been, and again, she may have not been. I'm more leaning on the side of she wasn't, but right now, based on what we know, it seems like the only plausible like 8th person.
But we don't know a lot.
The other thing is, we don't know a lot. The other thing is, they can also be slightly affected by, you know, the Irminsul like memory wipe, because they are also investigating like, you know, destiny and fates going on in this world. Right. And they also know that even Alice says that she's known to like pop up when there's a change in the world. So apparently they're aware of changes in the world, things that can affect the entire world. And I don't think they're talking about like historical changes or like changes in like paths and destiny. They're talking about like it sounds like they're talking about actual physical
it sounds
changes.
Like Nicole studies that, she said, right? So
she's an extraordinary woman who has made this world's direction and order her subject of study.
Right, exactly. So order, right? Direction.
Yep. Yeah, so Scarlet was saying, I can attest to everything that Alice has said. Jay was also a mortal who aged and passed on, leaving her title to her students and followers. I think the title is Jay, because I don't think they have like any special like
it's Jay.
Hexen Circle
it's
names.
Jay.
Okay, so Jay. So Alice was saying that now is not a good time, Scarlet, but as soon as I'm able, I will seek you out for a meeting. I want you to tell me about Jay's married life back in her hometown. Okay, so Jay's married life and her hometown. Her hometown is obviously not in Mondstadt. It's got to be somewhere else.
I mean, it makes sense that it's
Equal-
Snezhnaya because her name is like Ivanova, right?
Mhm.
Which is like a very Russian
So,
name.
Yeah. So, yeah. We're getting hints that there's people around the world that are also kind of like on the same level as Alice, that are kind of like watching us from behind the scenes, helping us out here and there. I don't know if any one of them has any ill intent or maybe don't want to help us out, but there were 2 people that were not mentioned. Was it 2? Or
2 people, yeah. I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
so we can
2 of
assume that
them
there's 8 because of that video that shows 8 little circles with witches in them, but we've only mentioned 6. So
So right now, we, for the most part, Hex and Circle is friendly, but not all of them are guaranteed to be friendly. We don't know how they're helping us out. Maybe what they're doing may conflict with some things that we do. We definitely know Alice is cool because, of course, we're friends with Klee, her daughter. So Alice is fine. Jay should be fine, or Jay's successors. Anytime we hear of like Hex and Circle things, should be good. The moment we find out there's this one thing that relates to like legends, witchcraft, magic, and everything, that's the one that we really got to watch out for. I am hoping it is more than likely one more should pop up in Fontaine.
well, we don't. We have no idea, right? Like
We just
there's
don't.
literally
know. But the fact
reason
that they
to
brought
believe
it up
that.
early.
Yeah.
Well, from the reason why I think that is because they're bringing up Hex and Circle now. The Harbingers they brought up early on, especially I think the Harbinger trailer came out before Sumeru, so there's obviously going to be a mention of a Harbinger before that big patch. If they brought up the Hex and Circle very shortly before Fontaine, that's just that alone makes me think that okay, we may not only are we going to see a Harbinger there, we may also hear of a Hex and Circle there.
Yeah,
So
that's
really all.
I'm curious,
all I
but
have.
remember, this is actually also a limited time event, which means that like people will not be able to experience this story later, which means that
True.
like the Harbinger story video was like unrelated. It's not in the game, like it was only on YouTube, right? So it doesn't really.
Oh, true. Yeah,
it was
they
like
didn't play that.
it was just a random video they decided to upload before Sumeru, and this story is actually only available to watch now, and then once the event ends, you can't do it anymore. So I think that implies that has a
Hex and
different
Circle
implication.
videos on YouTube.
Right,
Yeah.
right, of course, but like
But
you know, whether that actually implies some sort of foreshadowing or not, I think is like totally different because it's like an event that you can technically skip. Is like kind of what they're giving you, like like it's not part of the main Archon quest for a reason, right? Like why is it a temporary story quest? So chances are if something happens, maybe if it does happen in Fontaine, they'll probably just like reintroduce everything in like a main story way, like the way that like I don't know, I really hate the limited time events. Yeah, like how they have such important information. Like it's really crazy that there's not somewhere to watch this in game once the event is over.
Seasonal content that just gets rewritten or unwritten. But keep in mind, like when we were in the Golden Apple Archipelago last year, or before Sumeru, we were talking to Nahida. So Nahida was foreshadowed in the time limited event, and then it turns out that yes, Nahida can talk to us through our heads and had the power of Dendro when the whole new patch started. So it's just purely by pattern. That's why I'm thinking, oh, we might actually see a Hex and Circle reference in Fontaine, or the actual character pop up again.
Yeah, well,
one of them might actually reveal themselves. But
yeah,
there's a lot of characters that could be coming out, so it would give us a reason to like pull for that one, save for that one, or whatever. Not just an Archon, just maybe a Hex and Circle, maybe on a Harbinger too. Not just some random 4-star. But
all right, Kahi, let's wrap up because I have to go at 3 actually.
Gotcha. So that's Windblume. Now we have Caribert. Just you know what? I'm just gonna call it Caribert. It's hilarious.
I think you know what, Caribert works.
All right, Caribert. All right, Josh, take it away. What do we know about Caribert? How did it go?
Okay, so we know that Care Bears are made in a factory, in a store that you have to go and pick out all the different. Oh, sorry, we're talking about Caribert, right? Oh
Yeah.
man, Care Bears. Okay, so shout out to Care Bears, but Caribert. So this is, I'm gonna do a quick story summary and of just what happened, and then we'll talk about our thoughts and reactions, and then we'll talk about theories. So let's dive right in. So a lot of lore bombs in this very short Archon quest, and we basically start with meeting Kaya. We talk to Kaya in Sumeru, and Kaya and Ria. So we learned a couple things like from Kaya that he thinks that Kaya and Ria is under Sumeru, right? And he also we also find out that his family bloodline is directly related to the Kyanrians who created the Abyss Order. And then Dainsleif comes in, kind of confronts Kaya about it because Dainsleif's ties to Kyanria. So excuse me, to Kyanria, and Kaya recognizes him in that he is Kyanrian by his eyes, he says, and they have a little banter, and then kind of go separate ways. Dainsleif and the Traveler go to investigate some leyline disturbances. Traveler takes a nap, and Paimon, when Traveler, so after the Paimon, after Traveler takes a nap, they wake up. Paimon is gone, but Dainsleif is there and says, "Oh, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go check on something." This, unbeknownst to the Traveler, is when you start with experiencing your twins' memories. So, from here, you as the Traveler, you meet Ida, who is emotionally unstable and is cursed, similar to Dainsleif, as a pure-blood Kynrian who cannot die. He is immortal. He spent a couple of 100 years taking care of his half-Kynrian blood son, Caribert, and he is turned into a hilichurl, right? He was turned into a hilichurl, so he's been taking care of his hilichurl son for a couple 100 years, trying to figure out a cure, a way to reverse the curse. And he learned of this medicine, supposedly, that can cure this curse, which is, obviously a long shot, but it involves the blessing of the gods, which Kynrians don't believe in gods, so it was a really difficult thing for him to admit to being, to trying to do.
Well, they don't worship them because they don't really like them.
Right. They don't worship them, right? And so, you meet the Traveler, you're technically your sibling at this point, right? This has happened hundreds of years ago. And the hilichurl is they see a hilichurl and they think it's Caribert, and they follow it into a cave. They're worried about him, and they find a Cryoabyss Herald, and you fight the Cryoabyss Herald, you defeat him, and then Ida is kind of in awe of this herald, is really whoa, that was a perfect being, and maybe it has something to do with the curse or something, but obviously we don't think he's a perfect being, but he's in awe of this Abyss Herald, seeing it for the first time. And then you go deeper into this, which is technically part of the chasm, is what it looks like, and it's underground, and you see a crystal chained to this floating up toward the ceiling, with similar vibes to the upside down statue, is kind of how it's described later by the Traveler. And remember, there's no Paimon, so there's a lot of Traveler inner monologue text, and just you kind of experiencing things on your own. And the crystal is able to communicate with the Traveler through telepathy, or something, where no one else can hear except the Traveler. Tells the Traveler that this crystal is a sinner and not a god, and will wait for the Traveler by the end of time. Which is funny, because that's kind of what your sibling says to you. And only the Traveler can hear this crystal. The crystal blesses the medicine that they were trying to get a blessing from the Dendro Archon for. They use the medicine on Caribert, and Caribert gets its mind back, but not his body. So it remembers who it is. It remembers his father. He remembers his father, and then they want to go back to the chasm, to that area where the crystal was, to get another blessing to see if they can purify its body as well. And this is where Ida becomes a believer in this crystal, as this crystal must be a god. But Traveler knows this crystal's not a god according to the crystal. And it's important to note that this is like radiating huge abyssal energy. Basically, it's just like all dark purple and stuff.
Dark purple.
Yep. So they go back to the hut after finding out the crystal is not there. Right, the crystal was just not there. We don't know. It's just gone all of a sudden. We don't know what happened. We go back to the hut. Caribert sees his face and loses control and tries to take off his mask. Like he sees his mask. Like he's before they left, he told Ida told his son to not look in the mirror and that he cannot remove his mask. But his son sees his face, loses control, and then tries to take off his mask and explodes into dark abyssal energy. And we don't really know what happened after that, but we can assume that maybe he turned into like abyssal goo or just disappeared or something. When you wake up, Ida tells you that he's actually Clothar Albric, who is a descendant, was like one of Kaya's ancestors, and that he will turn Caribert into the Loom of Fate, which we learned a long time ago from the We Will Be Reunited quest, that the Loom of Fate is the name of the operation the Abyss Order is trying to make happen, right? Which we don't know all the details to. But he said he will turn Caribert into the Loom of Fate. And he's like, I know who you are, traveler. You're the prince or princess of Kynria. You're our hope. You're essentially equatable to the unknowable abyss, and whoever controls the abyss controls Teyvat. And then that's when the traveler's like, wait, what? And then the traveler looks in the mirror and realizes that they are their sibling. And then they wake back up in the present. And you find Dainsleif and Paimon all of a sudden. And basically Dainsleif explains that most likely the ley lines caused this disturbance. And Dainsleif also explains that Clothar founded the Abyss Order, ran it for about 100 years, lost his mind, and then disappeared. And then the traveler, knowing their memories of their siblings, says, let's dig up this field, the field that they were using to grow mushrooms for this like medicine. And they find two skeletons, one which is supposedly Clothar and one which is supposedly his wife. And Dainsleif is like, wait, he was immortal. How did he die? Did he break the curse? What's happening? And then Dainsleif mentions, after you explain to him everything you experienced with the crystal and everything, Dainsleif says we should split up because he might have seen you. And he is like seemingly referring to the crystal, who may have been talking to you and not your sibling at that time. So it's like this very confusing thing that's going on there, because of everything that just happened. And then at the end, Paimon is like very, very insecure, and it's like, oh, if you something, will you ever leave Paimon or something like that? And then Paimon, you hug Paimon, and then the quest ends. And then it's very cute and wholesome.
That's such a nice moment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I was like reading some things about how maybe that Paimon just feels like they're realizing one day that your journey together is going to end, and so Paimon just feels more insecure. Like Paimon has become more and more insecure through the Archon quests, like about Paimon's relationship to the traveler. So it's pretty interesting to notice that. But anyway, that was the quick story summary. Kahi, what is your like initial thoughts or reactions to this story?
I was not expecting Ida to suddenly say, oh, that's not my name, it's a different name. I felt like that kind of came out of nowhere, but it is still interesting that it was a great reveal that he said his last name only like after everything happened, and my last name is Alberic. Like, oh dang, oh, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. Especially with the mirror breaking. Yeah. From that mirror break, I'm like, oh, he's reliving something. He's reliving a memory in the past. It's most likely the sibling.
Yeah. When you first go into the hut in the present day, the mirror's broken, right? And then when you wake up, great. It's not broken. So I'm like, oh, this must be a dream. Like that was when I first thought that. Okay.
Yeah. So like this like couple episodes ago, I was saying like, you know what? I really hope that if they make a Genshin 2, it's like we're gonna play like the entire thing, the entire like world from the other siblings' point of view. This is kind of like that. Like, oh hey, you're in the same area, you're in the same spot, but now you're gonna take over the sibling and you're gonna see what happened in the past.
Genshin 2.
And then you just kind of jump chart.
Well, I want to talk about theories in a second, but
stuff. Yeah, but I thought it was pretty funny. Like you could actually do something like that. But as far as like Clothar and and Caribert, so Clothar was originally like a noble who had like an illegitimate son. So
Right.
he,
But he was pureblood.
if he was noble, he was pureblood. Okay, so the wife wasn't pureblood,
Correct.
or was she just like, okay? I thought she was just like of like lowly class, but apparently like
No, I think
he was,
mentioned
but son
he
isn't.
mentioned in the story that she was from somewhere else.
somewhere else. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I thought this guy, being the curse of immortality, a lot of people, and like a lot of other stories as well, always seem to like think immortality is a curse, but only because that they don't really end up doing a lot of good stuff with that infinite time. So yeah, if you like slave away at research for like nothing for like 500 years, yeah, immortality can be seen as a bad thing. But
Typically
if you
it's
use
seen as a
immortality
bad
to do
thing
good
when
stuff,
they can't be immortal with someone
typically,
else.
yeah.
Like watching
Yes,
everybody around you
the
die.
people that you're with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So immortality, I think when we were discussing like on a previous episode, like the Gnosticism thing, it was bestowed by a higher power. So at some point the Kyrians didn't, they were at a conflict with the gods. I believe the gods themselves were trying to like destroy Kyria and succeeded. And that's kind of why like the Kyrian people don't really like worshiping the Seven. So that's why like he was really like upset that he had to go to that statue, and it didn't sound like a prayer or at all. He was just telling the statue like, you know what, you did all this to me, like you deserve to do this for my son. It wasn't it was a very, very well written type of plea, because it didn't sound like asking for help, but it didn't sound like begging either.
Right. It was like,
so
I deserve
it
this
was-
after what you did or whatever,
Yes.
something like that.
This is a good character. Like I know a lot of people were online were even talking about
Voice
the
acting was
English
fantastic.
Voice acting.
Yeah.
I gotta listen to it because I read a few lines and I'm like, oh, that's a really intense like phrase. I gotta hear this like from someone
Yeah.
else. So
No, the voice
yeah,
acting was
this is-
fantastic.
I like this story. Yeah, I gotta hear that. But yeah, I like this story. I feel like it wasn't as long as it needed to be.
Yeah, I think it was pretty short.
it was a
Obviously,
very
there was
compartmentalized
no
story.
Danes left. There was no Kaya. It was like,
No.
it was important that they were there, but we didn't get to see much of them, which sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaya being at the very beginning made me think he's gonna come in at a certain point, but no,
Right.
it's just he's only there at the beginning so that we know the name Albrecht, and then he went off stage, so to speak.
Right.
Overall, I do like it. It's just short.
Yeah.
But did you like it? What's your impression?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a really important foreshadowing for a lot of things that's going to be happening. Like, this is definitely a set up story. It's not like yeah, they revealed a lot of things about the lore that are going to come into play later. Like, that's what I felt like. It's not, I mean, obviously you're reliving the past and all this stuff, but I definitely feel like I thought more was going to actually happen to progress the current story. Like, I thought we were going to do something, but we actually just like learned stuff. We like learned a lot of things. We didn't really do anything, right? So yeah, so that was like, it was like sort of disappointing, but like at the same time, like it was a really interesting story. I just like, I think, I don't know, it was pretty long in the sense that like I realized that it was like I said, from the mirror thing where we picked up the mirror and it was like actually reflecting, and they showed that clearly on purpose. I was like, oh, this is a dream. Like, the sequence is like some sort of dream. So after that, I was like, wow, this goes on for a really long time. But overall, the quest was short, and like I said, nothing actually happens. So yeah, it was a good story thing reveal, but I wish that there was like a second part of it where you actually did something with that information. But yeah, it was important. That's what I think. It's important. Now, in terms of theories, right? There's like a lot of different theories about like a lot of the stuff that's happening here. So if you don't want to hear this part, feel free to skip the theories. But it's not going to be that long. But I want to mention a couple things. One is that there are theories saying that like, because you experienced your twins' memories, but you did everything exactly the same as the twins, as the other twin, right? So Are you a clone of the twin? Are you actually interchangeable with your twin? Is there even a twin? You know, like yes there is a you meet your twin and stuff like that, but what is their real relationship and why are they so similar? Like what is happening, right? Like are they the same, were they actually one being but they were split? Like who knows? And so there are some really weird things about that. There are this kind of implies that like the way that the traveler, your sibling, talks to you is also like when you reach the end of your journey like I did, you'll think the same thing about this world. So it implies that like you guys are going to be doing the same thing, but you just have two different journeys. There's two different journeys that either of you can experience, and it kind of brings context to picking a sibling at the beginning of the game, because maybe they're the same. And there's a lot of talk about this, so that is just one thing I wanted to bring up. Do you have any thoughts about that, Kahi?
It's kind of minor, but it also ties into like the end of Windblume, the actual end of Windblume. Sucrose and Kale were having this thing where Sucrose wanted to like capture like the breath of happiness, so she had like a vial that she had like Kale breathe into, and it turned purple.
Yes.
Which is very, very weird, because in the manga, I believe the purple energy was something that Sino had to seal away.
I mean,
Kale
has a
really,
dead
really bad
god inside her, so like
yeah, and it's like dark purple energy. So apparently,
be careful with that, Sucrose.
Got into the world.
Be careful with that, Sucrose.
And the reason why that ties into this is because dark purple energy again, but the thing is, now we have a name to kind of like look out for a reference. The voice in your head called itself the sinner. I am the sinner with a capital S. So I'm thinking this sinner is a like abyssal snake, like a snake creature.
Interesting.
Kind of like how we have the snake people in Kyrenria. What was that? I forget the lady's name, but the NPC that always wore the mask, and when it took off the mask, it was like scaly.
Oh yeah.
So apparently, there's like snake people, or like people of the snake cult. Not really a cult, but like
the snake clan.
Even like a reference. Yeah, the snake clan. Like the phrase sinner, like it's kind of biblical in a way, because, or like religious, because the first original sin was like eating the fruit of the tree, and you were like lied to by a snake. So I'm thinking this person's a snake.
Wow, that's interesting theory. I also recommend, like, there's so much about this. Like, this opens up so many things. I don't want to talk too much theory, but if you are interested, I recommend reading or watching Ashikai's video, Ashkai, on YouTube, because she has this like 2-part video that's like basically an hour long total, and talks a lot about theories and points out things about the quest that may be important. And there's a lot of like how does the curse work, how does it affect people differently, what is Kaya's role in this? Is he actually an active knowing part of the Abyss Order, or is he like a double agent, or like like what happened with the medicine that you make, all the items in that are fake. There's a lot of really interesting things about the theories here, but I don't want to go too deep into it because it's pretty much a rabbit hole. But there's a lot of really interesting little things about this quest that point to a lot of things, like, for example, who the sinner is, possibly being like King Deshret, and there's just so much like things to speculate about, basically. And this quest actually gave some theories more water than before, so so I'm really curious to see where it goes. But also, just like, if you're interested, I can't even begin to talk about that because it's just so much. Like, but the sinner is really interesting. We, like you said, we have to keep an eye out on that term now. But yeah,
words, phrases, and even like the slightest voice line can like trigger like, oh wait, that's a reference to this, or hey, if I heard them say this, it's got to be like referencing this one. So like, there's so many like voice lines that we can listen out for, and a lot of our community members have voice lines that they also kind of like theorize and want to see in the game. So it leads us to our community question. Josh, would you like to read our question from last time?
Our community question from last week was, if you could add one voice line in Genshin, what character and what do you want them to say? Also, when is it triggered? So like when they get hit, when they're idle, low health, burst, etc.
As far as like the answers or the voice lines that we would want to see, here's one that I really want to see, like, because I like the idea of characters interacting with other characters. So I would like a voice line that is triggered when you go to someone else's, like, you know, home zone or something. I'll give you an example. Diluc doesn't really go to, like, you know, Mondstadt a lot because he's doing his own thing. He has his own organization. If you use Diluc and you walk into like Jean's office, he would say something about Jean. Like, he would never say this to anyone else, and because it's empty anyways, you'd be kind of hearing him talk to himself about Jean. I don't know what he would say, but he would probably be something like more like, I guess, regretful or something, like a line saying sorry, like, I wish I could be here more, but like he had to do his own thing. Because Diluc is not a bad guy, he's just very moody, which is understandable given his, you know, family history. But yeah, he would probably say something when in that area, because you could have the same thing for like Raiden Shogun. If Raiden Shogun goes to the shrine, what would she say? Or like if Yaimiku goes to,
no,
like,
that's pretty interesting. Like,
Ace
while you're
Palace,
exploring the
what would she
world, like the characters are reacting to what they're seeing in front of them.
Yeah, like, oh, I remember this place. So like, oh, this place again. Bad memories. You know, stuff like that.
Right.
Simple. What about you, Josh? Anything that you'd like to hear or see?
I mean, it's more complicated, but I would love to see, like, when you put 4 characters in the party, that the last character you put in there interacts with everybody else in the party. So, like, you know, I don't know. Like, imagine you put, like, Klee, Diona, and Chi-Chi in the party, and then you put Wander at the end. He goes, "Huh, I didn't know I was running a daycare," or something like that.
That'd be hilarious.
You know, like something like that.
He would totally say that too.
Or like you put Toma in a group with all girls, and he goes, "Hello, ladies," you know, or Kaya, "Hello, ladies," you know, "Hey, ladies,
Guaranteed. Care for a drink?
Care for a drink?" Yeah, something like that. So that would be like when you're building the party together, it would just make the lower stuff more fun, I think. So yeah, so I'll get started with reading some of the answers we got from the Discord. L Bell says, "I want Yaimiko to say Kitsune no Kagitsume o Tokihanate," which is the same thing that Kiriko says in Overwatch 2, because Kiriko is like a fox spirit based hero. So it would be like an interesting collab line, I guess. So that's pretty cool. That line is pretty cool. Kemlian says, "I like the quote, 'Some people feel the rain, others just get wet.' I feel like that's something Kazuha would say, and it would be triggered when it starts raining." Okay, nice.
That's an interesting line.
Right?
It's very philosophical.
Paimonyaka, this is so good. "I want the Wanderer to say, 'Mommy,' when he gets hit by lightning and dies."
Was that
so
you?
Good. "Mommy, is that you?" Sarah says, "In idle mode, while Fischl is doing her Chunibyo poses, I would like her to say, 'I am atomic.'" What does that mean, Kai?
Yes, I love it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know the reference, there's an anime, very popular anime for very good reason, called The Eminence in Shadow, where the main character is exactly like Fischl, like very like over the top, over imaginative,
Over dramatic.
thinks that they're the greatest in the world, over dramatic. But apparently in the anime, yes, you actually are the most overpowered character.
Oh, this is that anime you told me about. Oh.
Yes. His line. So, you know, his whole thing is he wanted to train his body so that he could be like fighting like enemies of justice and everything. But he's like, in his mind, oh wait, I can't be strong enough to like defeat bullets, and of course I can't be strong enough to like defeat an atomic bomb that drops on me. So when he goes into the isekai world, his greatest spell, he basically just creates a spell that is a nuke.
Oh my gosh.
So he creates a nuclear magic and says, "I am atomic," and he literally blows up a city.
Oh my god.
But he does it, when he says it, there's like so much like reverb in your headphones, it makes it feel like you actually turn something
like,
on.
"I am atomic, atomic."
But it's like so in your...
I see.
No, not that, but like atomic sounds like he's like whispering loudly in your ear.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
It goes from like normal speech to like in your ear kind of talk. So that's why it's very jarring, but it was great.
Okay, I gotta check that
He's such
anime
a
out.
dumb
That's funny.
character, but it's hilarious.
Okay, that's a good one. Thank you, Sarah. I knew Kahi would get it because I don't get it. Um, Baby Girl 28. Baby Girl is our mod on the Discord server. So,
Hey, what up?
hey, Baby Girl, thank you. I choose my voice line for Kazuha as a short poem since that would make sense for him as a character and also something that is meaningful to me. I find mental health that is really important in my life. Okay. A seed was planted in my chest, and I watered it each day. Roots splintered my lungs. Branches stiffened my limbs. Bark spread across my skin. Until one day I didn't cry. That day, the wind shook me, as leaves fell from my hair. This would be triggered after the rain or if the character has not been moved for a while on a sunny day. Interesting. One of those longer idols.
I like voice lines that trigger like during like weather events, like cold, rain, or like. I don't think any trigger while you're swimming, but
and it's like sort of a poem. I think you're all into that, Kahi. Angel says, all I want is one really effing dark line to be triggered after like only the most specific requirements. Like it has to be night in a cave after killing at least 4 enemies, after upgrading a weapon, after you've completed some random puzzle on some random island. And it's like Sino's line. And he just makes the darkest joke you've ever heard.
I think Kale has this because like in her Japanese voice, when like she gets hit, when she says like, what is it, like hanase, or like get off me, or like,
get away from me.
She says it in a very harsh tone. In English it's not as harsh, but in Japanese it's like very sinister, like don't you dare lay your hand on me, that kind of seriousness.
I think Angel just wants it to be a dark joke, like just like a really effed up, like,
or a dark joke,
should not be here, like But okay, I don't all I have to say is, Angel, who hurt you?
Hurt you.
Healing Halo. I have 4. I want Yao Yao when Yao Yao dies to say one last bedtime story. Oh, that's so sad.
That's sad.
I want when Dory gets hit to say, I just got scammed.
That's hilarious.
I want when Candace blocks an attack to say, my faith is my true shield. That's good. I want when Razor does his burst to say pray, but like Prey. Interesting. Yeah, these are some good ones.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Kaching says Hu Tao burst. I've always wanted her to say something like Wang Sheng might or something like that. I guess like a reference to her funeral parlor would be nice. Is what Kaching's saying.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Bishini says, I want Ayato to burst into the Boba song whenever possible, like Hu Tao and her Hilichurl song. It'll be catchy but maddening. And then they put like a YouTube link, and it was like really funny. It's like, your chewy sugar carby goodness saved my life. Every time that I feel down, you make me smile. You know the thirst for you is real, but you can't put a price on how you make me feel. It's really, really funny. I definitely recommend checking out. It's in the Discord, so thank you, Bishini.
He could hum it.
I would love Ayato to just...
first...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Humming it. That would be really funny. Yeah. Oh, that would be such an interesting
for copyright
reference.
reasons, I'm sure they wouldn't do that. But yes, if he hummed it, because Ayato, he's not like a really like outspoken person.
Right.
He'd be like sipping on it and he just hums to himself, and the melody, and it's like, oh wait, I know what he's singing.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That'd be hilarious. Last from Discord is Retro Sky. I would like characters to have a reaction voice line when a specific other character joins the world. So I'll use Wanderer as an example. Like if he said, "Oh, it's you," or "I want nothing to do with her," when Yai or Raiden joins the world, or something like, "It's you," when Kazuha joins. Wow, that'd be so interesting.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because for the smallest reason, it encourages people joining worlds because they just want to hear like the interactions with characters. Yeah.
Love it.
Well, what about our Spotify crew? Our Spotify audience, from Sam. Whenever any character is on fire, they would casually say, "This is fine." Kind of stupid, but I think it'll be funny. Yeah, I mean, I know there's at least one person who would say that, and it's gonna be Ito. Next up, we have Zetra. To be honest, I feel like Dila could use something like Eula would say, "Vengeance will be mine," or something like that during his burst. Wait, what does he say? He says like retribution or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Time for retribution, yeah.
Well,
very close.
Yeah, he says that. I don't know, I'm in Japanese, so.
Archangel says, when Nahida dies, it'd be funny if she started to doze off and then wake up and be like, "Sorry, I was AFK."
Oh my gosh, yes, just computer words.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I think I gotta get the other one up. I think I copy pasted the same one twice.
Hmm?
Yeah, I copied the same response twice.
Oh, I
That's why I
see.
gotta look it up
Peachy.
again. Peachy, yeah. Peachy on Genshin. Ha, skill issue. From like Yao Yao when you kill something. Totally would be DMing J-side the clip. Okay, so you expect the clip from Peachy later on. But apparently when Yao Yao is able to kill someone, she'd be like mocking them because she's a healer. And she's like the most like pacifistic person ever.
Oh, okay. I know what
next,
she's talking about. Yeah.
Charlie probably would want Raiden to say eternal when she dies.
Oh,
You know, that might make sense, like eternity.
doesn't she say something like that? I feel like she does. Maybe she doesn't though.
I feel like she says something to the effect of it.
Right.
Next up, James. James would want Baiju to say something about Chi-Chi. Because she doesn't get any story at all. She doesn't, and that's sad because she's been in the game for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Doesn't even
I think
have a
it'll
hangout
happen.
for a 5-star. It has to, especially when Baiju comes out. More than likely, it will be at the same time. Their stories are kind of interconnected.
Right.
Next, Todoroki Shoto.
Shoto.
I would like a sweet moment between Shenhe and Chunyan, or Chongyun, about their family, and Shenhe would be like, "I'm proud of you," and "How is that blue-haired boy doing?" And it's triggered when they are together in co-op.
How is that blue-haired boy?
Okay, the only characters that have a relationship is like Shenhe, Chongyun, Ayato, and Ayaka.
Oh, like familial.
Are anyone else related? Yeah, I don't think anyone else is like related.
No, I think that's it. I mean,
Yeah,
the siblings, traveler or sibling.
That doesn't count. You only get to play one of them.
Right.
Zhongli, literally Zhongli on Spotify. It would be cool if Ito says when he dies, "I'm just going for a quick nap, don't worry."
Oh my god, that's so good. I'm just going for a quick nap, don't worry.
We have Korean language. Onne. I would add a voice line for Kaya. His new voice line will be triggered in his story quest. His new line would be, "The truth lies beneath the surface. You just can't see it."
I think it's Onni.
It kind of sounds like him. Onni?
Yeah.
Onni. Okay, gotcha. So Onni.
Yeah, Kaya voice line. Yeah.
We got people from all over.
The truth lies beneath the surface. You just can't see it.
Just can't see it. Which is kind of funny because his eye patch, if you like lift his eye patch, I think someone tried to like deconstruct all the characters, see what they look like without hats, but they took off Kaya's like eye patch.
You know, Kaya. Oh man, I don't want to talk about theory. Never mind. We missed it already. Okay.
Yeah, later on.
Okay.
But before last, new community question. Since we're talking about like, interactions and like, character voice lines, I'm curious. What 2 playable characters do you want to see in a conversation? And what would they talk about? Because like Windblume especially, so many characters that you may not have expected to ever interact just had full-on conversations around a campfire, literally. So that was actually really cool to see how they would act, how they would like talk and converse, and what they talk about. So what other characters do you want to see in a conversation? Let us know what they would talk about. What would you think they would be talking about most likely?
Okay, so for our last segment, we're gonna both wish once on any of our account of our choice, or whatever, or any banner of our choice. Sorry, and for me it's account, I guess, because Kahi only has one account. But I'm gonna be rolling on my North America account, and I'm gonna roll on Dia's banner, and we're gonna both do a single roll. Kahi, what banner are you gonna roll on?
I have to try and get another constellation for Dia. You know that.
Yeah. Okay. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Ready? So, and one roll, go. And it's purple, 4-star. Woo. Oh, it's a Bennett. Oh, hey, that's good. I actually wanted more Bennetts. Great.
Ooh, first purple since we started these segments.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, everything has been blue. Okay, so if I get a purple, I want to see. Okay, we got to compare purples now. Otherwise, you just win by default.
Unless yours is gold.
All right, here goes my last wish on the Auric Blaze banner, hoping for another Dea constellation. Here we go. It's blue. No.
Oh.
What do I get? Weapon. Ooh, blood-tainted greatsword. So I actually like this greatsword.
The red one.
Well, for like a couple reasons. It's red, and it matches Beidou perfectly, and it boosts like electro and pyro damage. It's elemental mastery.
Yep. It works with Beidou or Dia technically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I'm one away
Either
from
way.
C6 Bennett. I want C6 Bennett. Give me the extra pyro damage and infused pyro for Dia. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hype.
Alrighty.
All right, well that was
Here
it.
we go.
So
And
yeah, that wraps up our show for today. As always, thanks for listening. If you have the time, please leave us a comment and a review. We'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. And join us on the Discord. If you haven't already joined us, the Discord link is in the description of this episode. Follow us on Twitter, once again, at Genshin Guys Pod, me at JSide Gaming, Kahi at Kahiao, KahiyaO. And as always,
at Astro Abyssos.
星と支援を目指せ。
Enjoy.